those who remember mobile phones the size of a brick and camcorders you had to hold on your shoulder to shoot, it's pretty obvious that electronic devices of all kinds are getting smaller and smaller. What many folks don't know is that our region is a global leader when it comes to creating the microelectromechanical systems that make such things possible. Of course, folks in the know do know this, and recently several dozen leaders of companies that create these miniature machines called MEMS for shorthand turned up in Pittsburgh on the campus of Carnegie Mellon University. They came to our region to check out Carnegie Mellon's Microsystems Lab and learn about the latest research that's just about ready to incorporate into some electronic devices in the not-too-distant future.
We're excited to have all these folks here for the MEMS industry group. It's really the industry group for internationally, all the folks in MEMS that work on their products and processes. So to have them come to Carnegie Mellon is a really big deal.
Lightman is the managing director of the MEMS industry group, which hosted the tour and which is based right here in our region. Maarten Boer is associate professor of mechanical engineering at Carnegie Mellon University. And welcome. Good to have you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I understand that in your world, getting this group here to our region was a really big deal.
It was a very big deal. We are an international trade association that promotes the MEMS industry, and thank you for remembering all those acronyms and the letters. And we do a technical conference every year focused on MEMS. And it was actually our 12th event that we did this year. Historically, we'd done it in Pittsburgh, but we had swayed to the West Coast because most of the activity had been on the West Coast. It has been and is in the West Coast of the United States. And so actually this year we brought it back to Pittsburgh, and one of the main reasons we brought it back to Pittsburgh is that we wanted to showcase what was happening at Carnegie Mellon University. And so we had that partner event, which was a fantastic event and a fantastic success.
And you brought in a lot of the leaders of these companies too,
Exactly.
right? Rather than just the technical folks.
Exactly. It was the chief technology decision makers,
Okay.
if you will, not the CEOs, but the real operation people. It's not the sales people, but the people who are making the technical decisions about MEMS, and they're the MEMS supply chain. So it's the folks who make the MEMS device that eventually will go into your iPhone or your iPad or your tire pressure monitoring system in your car, for example. But it's also, so it's the device, but it's also the equipment that makes that device. It's the wafer, the silicon wafer that is made on that equipment that goes into the device. And so it's all those layers of that supply chain. And so they came, we have 142 members. We had a good representation of them coming to Pittsburgh from literally around the world to come talk about the challenges to new MEMS product development. And so it was very apropos to have it at a site visit to Carnegie Mellon's Microsystems Lab.
And this was a complicated tour to arrange because all kinds of activity happening all over the place in various labs, correct?
Yeah, there were 9 different labs that we identified that do a lot of work in this area. And so what we did is we divided it into 9 groups, and then we kind of immediately went to each particular lab and then did kind of a round robin, 15 minutes in each lab.
We heard a little bit about some of the devices, tire pressure monitors to cell phones and everything else. So what's going on here, especially at Carnegie Mellon, that's pushing this to the next level?
So some of the interesting research that we're doing, for example, Professor Maarten, he works on micro and nano robotics. And there are cameras that you can put through your GI tract for clinicians to kind of identify clinical issues. But one of the problems that those have is that they don't necessarily stop in a particular place to image an area that has some kind of problem with it. So he's working on an adhesive technology to stop and orient the camera exactly in the right place to look at that particular area, or even to back up a little bit and climb back to the right spot. That's one thing. Another thing, Professor Gary Fetter and Barak Ozdanlar, they're working on a neural probe technology. And in these technologies, you want to monitor medical issues such as Alzheimer's disease or epileptic seizures or migraine headaches. And people use probes and they actually put them in the brain and look at brain signals. One of the issues with this is that the probes that have been used have been made out of silicon, and they cause scarring. And so these guys have developed a soft tissue or a soft material that goes around the probe and then dissolves in the body and then does not cause this scarring problem. So that's another technology that's been getting worked on.
So is it because of this kind of research that the industry group happens to be based here in Pittsburgh?
It's definitely related, and part of that is because Ken Gabriel, who's now director of DARPA, when he came to Carnegie Mellon to run the MEMS lab at Carnegie Mellon, he also launched MEMS Industry Group.
Okay, and now this industry is apparently growing like crazy. This is one of the hottest areas in electronics.
Yeah, so one example is that he developed this company called Acoustica, and Acoustica makes little MEMS microphones, and those are now in cell phones and in laptop computers. And in fact, they are so successful that they couldn't make enough of these, so they were acquired by Bosch, a German company that makes these by the millions.
Wow, unbelievable, but all got its start kind of right here in our region. Well, exciting stuff. Obviously, I could barely understand what was going on when I was in the lab, but really cool to see. Great to know what's happening here in our region. Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a minute with little dollars and cents. Stay with us.